I think I might start that again.
Yeah, start it
I think I start that
again.
again.
Okay, do it.
Start it again.
That was your warm-up.
Yeah.
A good warm-up, I might say.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Walt Bauer, and I'd like to welcome you to the Human Development Institute's first fall seminar. We welcome the participants who are joining us online, as well as the participants who are here with us at the University of Kentucky. Our presenters will provide an opportunity for questions this afternoon, and we welcome questions from all of our participants. Please type your questions in the chat box if you are online. Should you have any questions about CEUs, you can contact me. Please take a moment at the conclusion of the seminar to complete our brief evaluation. The evaluation will be sent to your email address after the seminar. It is really helpful as we plan for upcoming seminars. Now, for today's panelists, we have Sky Cubicub, Elizabeth Daniel, Reggie Weaver, Emily Miller. Jason Octavari is the moderator. The title of the seminar is Disability and the Arts in Health and Wellness. I'm now going to turn it over to our moderator, Jason Octavari. Jason.
Oh, yeah.
So again, just to echo what Walt said, I want to thank everybody that's here in person and all of those that are watching online. These kind of events are really special and important to me. I manage the Arts and Healthcare program for University of Kentucky's healthcare system, and I'm the co-founder of CREATE, which is a small nonprofit in Lexington that also seeks to educate and entertain the public and give them information about the ways in which the arts are so important to health and wellness for all human beings. So again, I think we've got a special group here, a special opportunity to build community and to talk about specific population. And really what we're looking for here is disability is part of it, but we're really looking at ability and all the ability that all of us have as human beings to be creative, to use the arts so that we can be healthy and well human beings. And I'll talk a little bit more as we go along, but for right now, I'd like to welcome Sky to present.
I just lean and stand. I'm Sky Kubakub, and I use they, them pronouns because I am non-binary. I'll give a quick audio description of what I look like, so if you can't see well, you can kind of see what I'm wearing. I am wearing all neon orange. I have little suit tails that are in velour and sheer, and I have a little crop top underneath. That's a mock turtleneck. I'm wearing chainmail on my neck, and that's a process involving opening and closing hundreds of little rings with pliers. There's some silver hardware with the necklace, and this is a particular technique that I call meta mail, so it's chainmail out of chainmail. I'm wearing a little fanny pack that's quilted. It was made with scraps from a jacket that I made. It has some chains on the side, draping down. And then I'm wearing long johns that have sheer, neoprene, and velour. So this is part of my recent winter wear collection. It comes with a coat, but I didn't want to wear it now because it's like 90 degrees out. I'm wearing a scale mail headpiece, and that is kind of a sibling to chainmail. It's a plated armor that is connected by little rings also. This is one that I wear every single day. It is pink and turquoise and yellow and purple. It's very stimmy. So it's a nice hug on my head. I am neurodivergent. I have anxiety and panic disorder along with a bunch of other mental illness and mental health things. I have undiagnosed stomach disorders, The doctors could never figure them out, so that's fun. And because of my history of having these kind of unapparent disabilities, I started a clothing line called Rebirth Garments. And you are right now watching a video from one of my performances. And so every clothing item that you see on all of these models was handmade by me, made to measure. My clothing line is for queer and trans folks with disabilities of all sizes, ages, and ethnicities. This particular show was in New York City at the EFA project space. It was in conjunction with kind of an anti-fashion week, like anti-fashion, political fashion gallery show that featured a lot of other amazing artists. Yeah, but every single thing is totally custom made. I do interviews with every model to ask them kind of what is their dream outfit. So I always ask them what would make clothing more accessible to their bodies. So for me, I need to have lots of very soft things around my stomach, because if I wear things like jeans or, I call them hard pants, like pants that aren't stretchy and soft, then it makes me feel extremely sick. And I can't really sit then either. So yeah, I make very soft, stretchy pants for myself. I also, this is more of a problem for me when I was younger, but I had a lot of sensory sensitivities, so I had to wear a lot of my clothing inside out because the seams would kind of tear at my skin and leave me with bruises, or just like extremely irritate my skin. So all of my clothing has very soft seams, but then if any of my clients need clothing with the seams on the outside, then I can also make it like that. So you don't have to wear my stuff inside out because it's already got the seams on the outside. But yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about how I got started. I was always extremely interested in the adornment of the body from a young age. Both of my parents were artists. My dad was a painter, poet, musician, post-production video artist, video poet. My mom was a painter, a professional dancer, and performance artist, and all-around multimedia artist. So I feel like their work is kind of smushed together into my work. So I get my color palette and my geometric obsession from my dad, and then all of my performances are done as these celebratory dance parties, and that's kind of a nod to my mom's professional dance background. But yeah, so I started making jewelry when I was very young. I would sell it at my mom's arts and crafts fairs, and I learned about chainmail from one of the shows that she was doing when I was 12. I just loved the feeling of it. I'll let people touch my chainmail later, but it just it's so fun because it's such a solid, hard object, but then it's so soft feeling. And the repetitive movement of making the chainmail itself is extremely soothing and calming to my neurodivergent brain. Now it's very well known that kids and neurodivergent folks kind of, a lot of times it's better if we have fidget toys, or there's the fidget cubes and fidget spinners that can kind of help calm brains and stuff. So instead of having that, because I didn't have that when I was younger, I would just chainmail in class, and it would help me absorb information better if my hands were occupied, because otherwise my hands were like, ah. And yeah, so I first dreamt of this collection when I was in high school. I was making fun, very sculptural chainmail outfits. But the teachers were like, oh, you have to make some stuff to go underneath the outfits because they're a little bit too see-through. But through that constraint of trying to figure out a thing to go underneath the chainmail, it was really exciting because I was very saddened by the options for leotards that were only like in black and white and like a baby pink or things like that. So I wanted to make really bright unitards, and I started making unitards in very colorful fabrics. And yeah, that like really brought me into a totally new medium. And then I used to make these outfits that were pretty hard to wear. They're like huge armor pieces that kind of weighed you down. And I still have touches of the armor in my collection, but I don't have it as much because I would rather have this soft armor. I see the clothing that I make as a soft armor because it is helping me feel confident enough to speak in front of you all. I used to not be able to talk in front of more than like one person at a time, but now I feel pretty good about it. And it helps me just go out into the world while wearing this radically visible clothing and feeling good about myself, feeling like I'm showing off my personality. And yeah, so when I started the clothing line, I started it in college after my stomach kind of stopped working. I needed solutions for pants that would not hurt my stomach. And I took off a semester, I came back and I took a lingerie class at the School of Art Institute, and that's where I really made this clothing line. And then basically right after that class, I wrote a manifesto called Radical Visibility, a queer crip dress reform movement manifesto. And this is my whole ideology behind my clothing line, being very unapologetic, being very in your face, wearing bright colors and bright, very loud patterns so that, we can't be ignored as queer and disabled folks. So yeah, I wrote this because a lot of people were kind of confused about the clothing line. They were like, well, why can't people just wear clothing that's already available? And I was like, well, it's the clothing that the mainstream fashion industry makes is very centered on able-bodied, tall, thin, white people, and that's very unacceptable to me. I think that we need to be able to have clothing that is showing off our personalities, making us feel cute, making us feel celebrated as human beings instead of ignored, and instead of having to wear clothing that kind of resembles like hospital scrubs that kind of just make you feel sicker. This fashion performance was in a nightclub in Chicago. It was in connection with the Arts of Life, which is a really cool organization in Chicago. They have both an art studio and a band, and it's all for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But they approached me asking if I would do a performance for this. We wanted to do like an accessible nightclub party. And so this is the performance from that. And yeah, there's other performances that might be shown at the gallery hop later today that where you can hear the music, but most of my performances just have music that my models ask for, but then I have had 2 performances that were collaborative performances with my collective, the Radical Visibility Collective. And my friend Vogues is the music producer and wrote songs where all the lyrics are audio descriptions so that folks who are blind or visually impaired can still enjoy what is happening in the fashion performance and understand what's going on. And all of the, this is like a lyrics book basically for that. And all of the descriptions of the people were taken from interviews with each of the models, because a lot of times when there's audio describing going on in other performances, the audio describer might not necessarily be consulting with the person they're describing. So they might talk about parts of like a person's identities that the person might not want to share, or they might eliminate ones that they don't think are important, but that are really important to the person. So yeah, we wanted to make something where it was all self-described, could talk about the model's identities, their dance moves, and the clothing, but also have really fun, like clubby beat to it. And that's kind of my most recent obsession is doing these kinds of performances. But yeah, that was like 15 minutes, right? I think. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Not used to being on camera, so that's right. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
It's really truly inspiring. So I think what we're going to do now is kind of meet the rest of our panel here, learn a little bit about them, and I want to emphasize that I very much believe in audience interaction. So don't bottle up any questions, and then what happens is sometimes by the end you forgot to ask. So let's jump in. Here's a question. Let's jump right in.
Where are you going to be at for gallery hop tonight?
So it will be at Pam Miller Downtown Art Center from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. as part of Lex Arts Gallery Hop. And this is a good, so you're prompting me and keeping me in my right flow. So this is a good time to point out that as part of this weekend's events, Create also has a visual art exhibit that we titled Ability, kind of with the DIS struck out of it, as you may have seen on some of our flyers and things that floated around. So we have artists from several different organizations participating, organizations that work with artists with disabilities, professional artists from the community and the region. And if I don't say so myself, it's a pretty darn amazing exhibit. So yes, all of you, please come and check that out from 5 to 8. Sky will be there, Elizabeth will be there, and you'll learn more about Elizabeth in a moment. And it's going to be a great visual art exhibit to check out, and then an opportunity to interact with some of the people on the panel as well. So we have our artists from Studio Works here. How many Studio Works here? All right. And we'll have artists from Latitudes. Latitude will be, they have participated. I'm hoping some of them will be there, and several other organizations. Any other questions before we jump in with meet our panels?
There's a participant online, and Belle says, "Wow, Sky, your outfit is incredible."
Woo!
I'll take pictures at the gallery hop because I'll have 4 different outfits. I was asked to do outfit changes.
And I appreciate when you mentioned that people could touch the chainmail.
Oh yeah.
And I think we'll obviously want to touch on that, but the tactile. So we'll get into that some more, because that's very interesting and I think relevant to what we're talking about. So I'm going to scoot off here off camera and let our panelists introduce themselves. So you're in frame, right?
Should I switch
So I'm just going to
areas?
give names. I feel it's best for people know what they want to say about themselves. So rather than me describe who you are, you describe who you are. But this is Emily Miller from Studio Works, and she is a staff member there.
Hi, everyone. This has been a really exciting event to plan for, so I'm grateful that all of you are here today. I'd like to acknowledge that my coworker Bailey is also here from Studio Works. So we are an art studio and gallery that is a day program for adults with all abilities, intellectual, developmental abilities. And so our artists have some work on display tonight, and so we're going to go check that out later. We would love to meet you and talk to you. We'll be there from 5 to 6 p.m. Personally, I am also an artist and a musician. I play in a band in Louisville called Quite Literally. And I do a lot of graphic design work for musicians and other clients outside of my 40 hours at the studio. So, and the arts have been really important in my life in dealing with anxiety and depression and other outside issues. So this is the reason that I do what I do, is because I want to pass that on to other people and allow them to be empowered by the arts. So with that, I'll just hand it over to Reggie.
Thank you.
And oh yeah, you go ahead.
My name is Reginald Eugene Weaver. It is a pleasure to be in the presence of each and every one of you. I am an artist from Studio Works. I am happy to be here. So in short, I want to say that I enjoy my artwork. I'm empowered by what I do. I am from Louisville, Kentucky. I was born and raised here. I was born and raised in Louisville, not here, sorry. But I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm proud my father was a pastor of a church in Louisville, Kentucky. Very proud of that factor. And I'm also have a dream of making my art realizable, realistically, to do art to improve upon that which I do. And yet at the same time, I feel that's empowering to know of that which I do can be helping others to empower themselves through the aspects of art within the Studio Works community. So I wish to give to the community also. But my dream is to be a better artist and to show the entire community throughout the entire globe of this world that art is a very favorable tool within our lives, from musicians to those who inspire with their music, through dance and many other cultures throughout Japan and other countries. So I feel that art has been an inspiration of mine since I was 8 years old. So I want to continue to improve on my art realistically and figuratively in so many aspects. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you want to be in this chair instead, or?
Yeah.
Powerful. He wants to get over here. Front and center.
Thank you.
And I'm going to give you a little bit more of an intro because I think we had it's a special meaning that Elizabeth is here with me, because I think we've rather quickly and over a short time become pretty good friends, huh?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember how we first got connected, but
Through Sarah.
But Elizabeth Daniels is a poet and a published poet at that. And she reached out to our facility. I believe you knew that we did performances, and
It was by chance.
by chance.
I was there to get a tooth pulled.
Okay. And she wanted to know if there was an opportunity to read some poetry and share with, kind of share in our arts and healthcare program. For example, we do live music multiple times throughout the week in the lobby, and we do poetry readings and sometimes just nonfiction readings or fiction readings. And she came and read some poems, and we just kind of hit it off from there. And so anyways, I'm getting sappy, but I'm just really happy that she's here and that I've made this wonderful new friend. So I turn it over.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Daniel, and yes, I was getting a tooth pulled that day, and I was in the lobby waiting on my ride and saw the sign and jotted down the email address and sent an email, and that was that. And I'm from Casey County. I've been writing since I was about 8 or 9 years old. Poetry has always been kind of like my way to express myself with depression, anxiety, and to handle things around me and to vocalize what I'm feeling, because I'm very vocal, and writing was just an outlet to help me do that to the world. But back then, like, we didn't have the internet and things like that, but I always had a dream to be a published author. And I had a book title in mind called Diary of a Poet. And it took a long time to get to that point, but my first book is called Diary of a Poet, after that namesake. Yes.
We got the book.
Oh, thank you. This is Diary of a Poet. And my latest book is called Depths of the Soul. And this was named by my now nephew, who's 10. He named it when he was 8 and came up with the title. My writing is very much like inspired by my family, my nephews, my nieces, just the world around me and my experiences, good and bad, the experiences that I've had with people misinterpreting me, the experiences I've had. People like to have a preconceived notion when they see you and you have a disability or you're on oxygen, and they say things like, "Did you write that by yourself?" So it is my goal in life, as someone who was never supposed to write and never supposed to live past day one, to break the stigmas and show people that, yes, I am more than what the outside appears to be. There is a functioning artist in there, and people need to look past the surface when they get to know someone.
Agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so this, since we've done the first round, so let's go with some questions for a moment if anybody has them.
I was wondering if you would read us one of your books.
Okay.
Maybe you too.
Yeah.
Do I need to stand up? Can you see me back there?
I think you're
You can
okay.
see you.
Okay. Frequent spectators, get in line. Grab your ticket while they last. This traveling show will soon be moving on down the road. Can't gather dust beneath my feet. I've got miles to go before I can peacefully sleep. So, step right up. Don't be shy. Next time, instead of staring because you find someone different, just say hi. That one is called What Are You Staring At? You want me to read
Yeah,
another?
let's have another one.
Yeah.
I think.
As I said, like a lot of the inspiration comes from my family, from my nieces and nephews. Um, this one I wrote called You and I. Sweet boy, you may never really understand how it is you took this crazy woman and changed her plans. See, I was drifting, mad at the world, mad at myself. I think I was mad at everyone else. No direction. Instead of a bright light, I saw dreams crashing down. To be honest, I just wanted to drive as far as I could, till all the hurt left and took the tears too. But then your mother told me the news. A baby was on the way. The months flew by, the beating of your heart instantly calmed my soul. Then the day came anxiously, as I sat in the waiting room. It didn't take long till the music played as I rushed to the nursery window. That's when I first saw you. It was love. Standing in that moment, I knew something was special. Something was happening. Sweet boy, years have passed now. We're still standing. A bond forged through two hearts beating. In time, you and I. And that one was particularly written at a time when I was put on oxygen full time, and they had given me a year to live, and I didn't know it. And my sister happened to get pregnant with my nephew at the same time. And 10 years later, we're a team.
Thank you. Beautiful. Any other questions at the moment? Remember, don't be shy. We're a family in this room. So whenever those questions come, just raise your hand. We'll go right in.
What's your writing process? Do you like keep it up with you, or does it just come to you?
I have a very sporadic writing process. I am like the Taylor Swift of poetry. Like when it comes to me, I'll grab a napkin, paper, my cell phone. At 3 a.m., I'll wake up in the middle of the night, grab my cell phone, and just jot something down. That's why I'm not very good with the schedules people keep on Instagram of posting, because I like to be in the moment, sporadic, and whenever you feel it.
I think that's kind of a nice spot. Did you have a question?
Yes. It's not really a question, but I am so happy that even though with disabilities getting in the way, that you pull through, because it's very hard.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not just questions. If you guys are just prompted to share something, let's do that.
There's a question from Belle, a participant online. Where can one buy Elizabeth's books? Her writing is so inspiring.
Oh, thank you. I have business cards, and I have an author page, creativetalentunleashed.com/our books. I'm also on Amazon, and I'm also on Barnes and Noble. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as well.
I will vouch that it's pretty easy to find Elizabeth online, because when I first met her, I, of course, did the obligatory
Did you
Googling.
Google me?
But is there a way, Walt, that we can make sure we get can we share that?
We can
Yeah,
share that link.
so for everyone online and here, we'll make sure we get that information to you so you can track Elizabeth down. And yes, buy books, right?
If you add me on Instagram, I'm very social.
Yeah.
I will talk back.
And maybe I can even arrange for a signature,
Belle says, I'm looking forward to sharing your work with my clients.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Belle. And I think that was a great question. That sort of, I've got my scribbly notes here of things that I wanted to help guide the conversation along. But I think process is really important. And so we kind of touched on that with your process. So, and Sky, I know you kind of started to get into that a little bit, but I wonder if you wouldn't elaborate some more, and we'll kind of visit with each person on our panel.
We have a question from Lauren. What's your Instagram?
Oh, it's Poetic Life 33, and that's all lowercase. I will get it out eventually. It's all lowercase. Poetic Life 33.
Yeah.
We have a question from Kathy, or just a comment from Kathy. Elizabeth, your poems reflect a beautiful soul. I can feel the light. Bravo. I will be a follower.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very sweet.
Well, I think that before we move on to process, that brings up another really great point. And I know that Studio Works does this, and I believe you, Emily, and Studio Works, and you guys have recently done some workshops with your artists. So it's not just about, here's some therapy, here's a way to get through your daily life. It's about empowering these artists to potentially be professional or to have a commercial viability to what they do as well. So I think this is great. I mean, one of the things that's happening here right now is we're giving a platform to these artists, and the community is getting to learn about them. So I think we should definitely acknowledge that, but it's not just about going to a daily class or having your own personal therapeutic benefit or wellness benefit, but there is a viable career path here. It doesn't mean you're going to be the next $1 million artist, but that's not really what's important, right? I mean, it's about sharing and also feeling that you're able to share your art with the community and be exposed
I think that Elizabeth is a very fantastic person.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
She could come my friend really fantastically.
Well, thank you.
And new friends will be made today, I'm sure of that.
I talk a lot. Just saying.